Okay, so the thing is, as always the thing is, BMW is an amazing company in a lot of different ways. And you guys know, I try to talk about these things objectively. I try not to piss anybody off, but I'm not above it. I have been talking about this for quite some time. And in a world where sedans are almost forgotten about, there still lies a few sedans that are still worth buying, and one of them being the 3 Series. The 3 Series for a very long time has been the benchmark of sport luxury and is among the great trifecta, which I just learned that word, is BMW, Audi, and Mercedes. Now, you may say that, in a world of SUVs, sedans have gotten boring, and that may or may not be true. But what is evident is that the 3 Series is not doing as well as it should have, given its pedigree of performance and luxury in a unique packaging and combination. It should still be performing relatively well, especially against its competitors, to which it is. But by comparison to some of its counterparts, including the X3, that would be not the case. And in this video, I want to talk about that. What's up, guys? My name is Chris, and welcome to The Breakdown, where we talk about everything cars, news, and reviews. If you're new to the channel, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. You're appreciated. So, so I did a video about the BMW 3 Series, and I had to go back and revise some things because I didn't like the way that it turned out. And I think that I owe you guys as best of an explanation as possible, so that's what we're going to do. In this video, we'll be talking about the 3 Series, the once legendary vehicle for many people who aspire to have anything remotely luxury, and how it has shifted away from its roots and become not quite as known. And there's a particular reason for that, and it's not just SUVs. So with that being said, stick around and stay tuned because you are now watching The Breakdown. Alrighty, now let's get into it. So last week I asked you guys to do the poll, as you guys always do, and what came first was the Honda Civic, and next in the line up, which I thought was the Ford Taurus, ended up being the BMW 3 Series. And the BMW 3 Series, as I've said before, has been a big player in the luxury compact game, first coming into the States from 1956 and then becoming their own first dealership by 1975. And they've had many different iterations of vehicles, including the legendary 2002, and the 3 Series has been the staple that they've always held themselves to. Now, whether it be 5 Series, 7 Series, 3 Series, and recently the 4 Series, which is basically 3 Series Coupe, BMW has always had something to offer to people. Coming in an array of customizations and powertrain options, the 3 Series has always been that girl. But ever since 2017, 2018, sales have borderline fallen off a cliff. But let's take a step back. So there are a few different models of the 3 Series that are just in the places of many enthusiast hearts and many BMW loyalists alike. One of them being the E36, the other being the E46, as well as the E90. All three of these are at the top of most people's list when you think about the best 3 Series. And the E90, E91/E92 was the last time that we got a naturally aspirated engine, being the N52 engine, which is a great engine. And it's so interesting to know where the 3 Series came from in this shift. So back around the early 2000s, BMW was on fire, and the sales up until about 2006, 2007, they had hit somewhere north of 120,000 units per year. This is still a time when sedans were still a thing. And as time went on, BMW decided, and I guess it was due to regulations, I'm not really sure, and I can only speak for the US market. The 3 Series changed from naturally aspirated and twin turbocharged if you got the 335, which was the N54 engine, and then they went from the naturally aspirated base model into the turbocharged. Before you guys beat me up, the turbocharged is not necessarily the issue. They've done turbocharged, they've done diesel, they've done a lot of different things for many years. And the E46 and the E36 are still held as some of the top tier, and the E90 comes slightly below that. Some argue, especially in journalist world, some still argue that the G chassis is still one of the better ones because it's so technologically advanced. But the F30, I'm not gonna hold you, it sucked. Okay, maybe it didn't suck. it just did not perform up to spec as what most people would expect from a BMW. Partly, I believe, it's because of the design. The E90 and the E46 are of the Chris Bangle era, and for whatever reason, he just did a bang-up job doing the design, and the engineering team, whoever developed that chassis, just really put their foot off on that. Since then, the 3 Series has been lacking. And the F30 chassis is the chassis that most people remember as lackluster. It was underwhelming. This was the first time we had gone from a naturally aspirated to the turbocharged, but also we shifted from more mechanical based BMWs to more technological based BMWs. And this was the first time also that the steering had gone for electric. And that's a big reason of why a lot of people didn't gravitate towards this car, because a lot of BMW 3 Series enthusiasts knew that the best part next to the power of a 3 Series is the handling. And it became evident that the 3 Series at that moment was going in a different direction for a lot of the car community, and we didn't really know how to handle it. And so that shift is what drove sales downward. In addition to, there also was the split off from the 3 Series Coupe to the 3 Series Sedan into the 3 Series and the 4 Series. And the 4 Series just didn't have the same level of allure that the 3 Series Coupe had. And I would attribute that particularly because of the design language. And the F30 chassis, in terms of design language, felt bland. It felt seasonless to some degree. The G chassis has a different appeal. It's a refresh of what they used to be, but on a modern take, and just from a design standpoint, it's got a different flavor. But that's not where I'm going here. So in addition to the shift from the mechanical to the technological and the exchange of changing names and branding, that is only part of the issue. And the pandemic didn't do a great job of helping that either. And ever since then, even though it has been competitive against its main competitors, which was usually the C-Class and the A4, they've been struggling to keep up. But this goes far beyond sedans in this instance. Well, sort of. Let me explain. So in addition to the 3 Series being on the decline of appeal for BMW enthusiasts, sedans as a whole were just going down the drain pipe. Many people had to have their SUVs. And I've talked about this in many videos, is that the reason why people go to SUVs as opposed to cars is not just the ride height and the quote unquote safety that people think, is more so because it's a better value proposition. For example, the 3 Series in today's world costs roughly about $45,000. Well, the X3, which is its counterpart, goes upwards of $49,000 base starting, and then you can get somewhere into the mid 50s. But there are likely a lot more incentives behind the X3, and by the time you throw on the incentives and you throw in all the extra things that go into buying a car, you really don't come out that much further than the sedan, but you get a lot more bang for your buck. It offers you more room, more comfort, a nicer ride height, in addition to the safety features, for maybe another $1,000, and that is where people see the value in SUVs. And the X3 sales have almost cannibalized the 3 Series sales, and we've seen a significant jump in sales as opposed to the 3 Series. And I do want to also point out that we have to remember, as car buyers, as consumers, enthusiasts, whomever, at some point the tides will change. And at some point, there's going to be a different market that's going to be buying these cars. And this is going to tie into where I'm getting at this next. Even though it's a lot of people going towards SUVs, there's still a lot of people who enjoy sedans. What really happened that nobody talks about, X3 SUV SAV aside, the real killer was Tesla. Let me explain. Oh, I'm piping with this one, baby. Oh, I'm cooking. All right. So the Model 3, when it came out, was something that the legacy automakers did not anticipate. Unlike the 3 Series, which had been a little woeful, a lot of people weren't buying it as much because they just didn't feel connected to it. And ironically, because it went from mechanical to electrical and more technological, that allowed for a lot of people to start looking elsewhere. And quiet as it is kept, a lot of the buyers that were used to buying 3 Series were now evolving into a different state, and the buying demographic got younger. You got to remember, a lot of these people buying the 3 Series were in their 40s and 50s and had really established jobs, and the compact luxury segment was starting to shift from smaller entry level into bigger, bolder cars. But there was still a market for it. And when the Model 3 dropped, it was almost a derivative of the Model S. And the Model S, when it came out, was revolutionary because it was one of the first times we even knew what an EV was. And even though there were other car companies like Rivian and Lucid and even Nikola, which we still don't know what's going on with that, the EV landscape shifted a lot of what people thought of luxury compact cars. But the Model 3 was one of the first times that there was an affordable sedan EV, and that stole almost 50% of the sales. I can't really confirm that without the data. But almost 50% of sales from BMW. And just for some hard numbers, combined with the Model Y, the Model 3 in its run from 2017 up until 2022 was close to 3 million, as opposed to for BMW, it was close to 1 million in just the United States alone. And the thing is that the Model 3 came in at a time where the demographic for luxury compacts was shifting, and it came almost at a perfect time because the Model 3 was affordably priced. In addition to, it had one advantage over BMW, not necessarily that it was electric, but that the dealer experience was very different. Unlike the traditional legacy automakers, Tesla does not have a dealership. They have service centers, and I think it's called portfolio centers. I don't know what it's called, but mostly it's ordered online. And that is the very difference of where BMW lost the ball, even though the 3 Series is just as competent in the sedan space. And with the premium that comes along with owning a BMW, the Tesla Model 3 offered significant advantages that many other automakers just couldn't see. EVs don't require as much maintenance, and EVs are very much the cool thing now. And because the Model 3 was such a hit amongst the masses, it took away a lot of the steam and the momentum that the 3 Series had prior to. And I genuinely believe that the legacy automakers have to rethink how they're going to touch their new consumer base, because luxury cars as a whole are slowly dwindling. And unless you're in the upper tier, like a Land Rover, like a Bentley, like I don't even know, like a Rolls Royce, a lot of people are starting to veer away from the allure of luxury cars. Overall, Tesla has outsold BMW so much by comparison, and I believe that is where the 3 Series fell short. And BMW doesn't care. They don't care about any of this. They're going to do what they want to do. They're BMW. These are the same people who help make airplane engines. They do not care. But I will say that if they want to improve the sales of the 3 Series, they're going to have to recalibrate their thinking of how they can grab incoming new young executives, young corporate workers, new business entrepreneurs, blue collar workers that make really good money. They're going to have to figure out how they're going to appeal to those people and how they're going to better market themselves against companies like Tesla, because with the direct consumer experience, low cost of ownership, and just genuinely different looking cars and different experience, it is going to be an uphill battle to regain the legacy of the 3 Series. But with that being said, you guys let me know in the comments section if you've ever bought a 3 Series, if you would prefer an X3, or if you think that Tesla is the better car and far superior. I probably know the answer here, but I'm just gonna go along with it. And by the way, if you'd like to support the channel, feel free to do so. I will leave both links in the description below. Your support means a lot to me and helps me to continue making great content just like this, and I always appreciate you guys' love and support. And with that being said, until the next video, I will see you guys later.